Yo, what up guys, it's Colin here from CH Gadgets. So, the fact that you click on this video could only mean one of two things. Number one, you just got your Gigabyte Aero 15 or 17 and you want to know how can you increase the performance with just a few hardware upgrades. Or, you're thinking about buying the Gigabyte Aero 15 or 17 and you want to know if you can increase the performance with just a few simple hardware upgrades. Well, either way, it's your lucky day. In this video, I'm going to talk about what options you should choose as far as memory and storage is concerned, how to upgrade your laptop. I'm also going to share some before and after results, and just in case I'm running into any issues while I'm trying to do an upgrade on this laptop, I'm going to tell you my final recommendations so you can avoid the same mistakes that I did. By the way, if this is your first time here and you love tech and gadgets just like I do, and you want to see all the cool new tech that I get to test and play with every week, then start now by clicking the subscribe button and tapping that bell notification icon so that you don't miss out on any of my new videos when they drop. So before we get started, there are a few things that should be noted. The hardware upgrade options that I'll be talking about in this video should work the same for the Aero 15 and 17 since they share the same motherboard, and the only major difference between the two is the display. Also, a quick disclaimer, this is not really an in-depth guide and I'm by no means a pro, so if you open your laptop and you poke and prod components that you shouldn't, you could damage your laptop or void your warranty. In this video, I'm just showing you what I've done to upgrade the Aero that I have, so make sure you do your due diligence to protect your investment because I can't be held responsible for your negligence. Let's go. Now, for some context, the reason why I got this laptop was for content creation, which involves video editing primarily, both for my YouTube channel as well as for my client work, along with some photo editing and everything else in between. If you have similar needs as I do, then this upgrade will probably work. But if your Aero is purely for gaming, then I think this upgrade will still work since the main objective here is just to increase the performance. Out of the box, my Aero is running an Intel i7 along with a 1660 Ti, which is relatively powerful hardware, but it also has a single stick of 8GB DDR4 266 MHz Samsung memory, which means it's running in single channel, and I believe we can get a huge performance boost if we run this laptop in dual channel with some much larger capacity memory, which I'll get into more later. This laptop also comes with a single M.2 NVMe PCIe 256GB Intel 760p SSD, but it's capable of running two separate M.2 SSDs. Now, I don't think that I have to tell you that I'm constantly tapping out the memory and storage in this laptop. A single 256GB SSD is just way too small to handle the large 4K files that are coming from my Sony camera, and 8 gigs of RAM is just struggling to keep up with the multitasking workload that I do daily while editing in Premiere Pro with the Chrome browser running and a few other apps constantly running in the background. So for this Aero 15, I'm going to be upgrading the memory, and I'm also going to add some new SSDs. And the SSDs that I'm going to be using for this upgrade is two 1TB WD Black SN750 M.2 NVMe Gen 3 PCIe SSDs, one of which will be running the OS along with all the apps that I use for work, and the other 1TB will be used as one of my main drive to edit from, especially while I'm in the field. So we're essentially going to take this from 256 gig to 2 terabytes of internal storage. Now, I want you to follow me really quickly as I go down this rabbit hole and try to explain a couple of important reasons why I'm using the WD SSD. And the number one reason is the speed. And the number two reason, which is even more important, is the price. So check this out. The 1TB SN750 has a sequential read speed of 3,430 megabytes per second and a sequential write speed of 3,000 megabytes per second. The only other option right now that offers speeds close to what the WD Black is offering is a Samsung 970 EVO 1TB SSD with sequential read speeds of 3,400 megabytes per second and a sequential write of 2,500 500 megabytes, which doesn't really match up spec for spec since the WD Black S750 is offering more performance in the write speeds. However, if you want to go spec for spec or performance for performance, then you would have to get the 970 EVO Plus 1TB SSD, which can do 3,500 megabytes read and 3,300 megabytes write, which is just about the same ballpark as the WD Black S750. Now, here's the deciding factor for me, and I hope it's the same thing for you if you're thinking about upgrading your system also. So, at the time of shooting this video, the Samsung 970 EVO 1TB SSD retailed for $179.99, which is about $180, and the 970 EVO Plus retails for about $219.99, which is about $220. However, on the flip side, the WD Black S750 1TB SSD currently retails for $149.99, which is about $150. It's typically sold for $180, but right now it's on sale. So if you're watching this video, check the link down in the description to see if it's still on sale, because this is a good buy. Now, here's where things get interesting. If you buy the Samsung 970 EVO 1TB SSD for $180, then you're definitely going to be losing out on some of that sequential read and write speed and performance that you're paying that premium for. Since we're comparing this to the WD Black S750 1TB SSD, which is currently being sold for $150, which offers way better read and write speeds than the 970 EVO. And like I mentioned earlier, the only other SSD that currently matches the S750's performance is the 970 EVO Plus, but that one retails for $220, which means if you want the 970 EVO Plus because of the faster read and write speeds, then you would have to pay an extra $70 for an 8 or 9% increase in the performance of the sequential read and write speeds of the EVO Plus over the S750. So my logic is, if you get the Samsung 970 EVO 1TB SSD for $180, you're not going to be getting the full performance that you're paying for, especially in the write speeds. But also, if you get the 970 EVO Plus for $220 instead of the WD Black S750, you're essentially going to pay $70 extra for the same or similar performance. So my suggestion is to get the WD Black S750, since it's the best middle ground as far as the price to performance is concerned. You get better performance than the 970 EVO for the same price, and you also get the similar performance to the 970 EVO Plus for $70 less, which means you get to save some cash towards buying some memory. Now, the memory that I'm going to be using for this upgrade is the crucial 64 gig kit, 32 gig times 2 DDR4 266 megahertz memory. And to be completely honest, these are not cheap, but my reasoning is the thing that I tax the most with my workflow is the RAM. And yes, 32 gigs could work just fine, but I would much rather have more headroom than I need than to eventually find out that I don't have enough. So is 64 gigs an overkill? Probably, but I believe the RAM is one of the main things that you should splurge on when you're upgrading your machine. Plus, Crucial is known as the memory and storage expert, and over the years, their product has been really reliable. However, there's one little caveat. The RAM that I got here, you can find it on Amazon. I'll leave a link to it down in the description, but I think you should know that the Gigabyte Aero series is notorious for rejecting RAM. So, to ensure that it's compatible with your Aero model, and to find a RAM that works with whatever laptop you're using, make sure you use the compatible memory and storage upgrade tool that is on Crucial's website. It's pretty straightforward. You just put in your make and model of your laptop, or you can just use the automatic detection tool that they have, and you're good to go. So now that we got all of that out of the way, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna run some tests of the before. Then we're going to install all of this hardware that is right here in this laptop, and then we're going to run some tests of the after, and then we're going to come back and talk about the results and any issues that I might have ran into while I was doing the install that I think you should know so you can avoid making the same mistakes. Let's go. right, so this is the moment of truth. We just installed our 2 terabytes, 2 SSDs, 2 terabytes, and 64 gigs of RAM in our laptop. So this is the moment of truth. Will it boot? And the reason why I say will it boot is because we know that Gigabyte, the Aero series, is notorious for rejecting RAM. And this is 64 gigs of crucial RAM. Let's go. Moment of truth. You hear that? Woo! Yeah, boy. There you go. It's booting up. It's booting up. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yeah. All right. Woo. Yeah. Woo, man. All right. So we're in here. Let me okay. Everything is working just like it should. So let's plug it in. Let's go in the system so we can see. All right, so there you go. So it says 64 gig, install RAM, 64 gig, and it's usable. So we in here, we good. And we got 2 terabytes of internal storage, 64 gigabyte RAM. Now, what we're gonna do, we're gonna do some benchmark, we're gonna do some tests, and then we're gonna come right back and talk about the results. Let's go. I just installed the RAM and the storage inside the laptop, and as you saw, I started up for the first time with all the new hardware inside, and it boot with no problem. However, I did run into a few issues after the laptop was up and running, but I'm definitely going to talk about what they are and what you should do right after I show you these before and after results. Okay, so what you're looking at here is the Passmark Ratings performance test with the whole hardware inside, and the number we're going to focus on is the 2807. Now, what you're looking at here is the Passmark Ratings with the new hardware inside, and the number is 4,367.5. If you ask me, that is some major gains. So how about the benchmark on the whole memory? Well, the number was 2,219, and it falls in the 42nd percentile. And the new memory, 3,367, and it falls in the 91st percentile. That is some huge gains. So what was the score on the whole SSD? Well, it was 13,245, and it falls in the 75th percentile. And the new SSD, 27,103, and it falls in the 97th percentile. That is some huge gains. All right, so I ran crystal this mark on the whole hardware, and the numbers are, and now on the new hardware, numbers don't lie. Okay, I know you're probably saying, enough of the benchmark, show us some real world results. Well, I did. I took a 6 gig file and I dropped it on the desktop. It said it would take 10 seconds to write at 422 megabytes per second. However, it did throttle down to 15 seconds at 248 megabytes per second. So how did the new hardware do? 1.72 gig. By the way, notice where it says time remaining? It was still saying calculating at the time when this got done. That's some major gains. All right, the last thing I want to show you is I have a 10-minute video on a 4K timeline, and the old hardware said that it would take 3 hours and 35 minutes to render. But on the new hardware, 1 hour and 37 minutes for the same 10-minute 4K timeline. That right there, my friend, is some major gains. Okay. If you ask me. All right, as you can see from the before and after results, mission accomplished. We've made some significant, well, I believe it's significant increase to the overall performance of the laptop. The processor and graphics card in this laptop is really powerful. Well, it's more than adequate to get the job done for my use case. It was like the RAM and the SSD that came in it was holding it back so long. Now with the new hardware upgrade, it's almost like it has a new lease on life and ready to crush some 4K timeline. Let's talk about the issues that I ran into, and it may or may not apply to you. but I'll explain further so you can know what to look out for. So in order to use one of these 1TB SSDs as my main boot drive, I had to make a clone from the original that was already in it. And this is where my problem lies. The first issue was I had to reactivate my Windows key because after the laptop started and it was up and running, I noticed down in the bottom right hand corner that it was saying it's not activated. But it was pretty easy to activate. I just followed the instructions where it was saying go into settings and click activate. I went into settings, I clicked activate, and I went back in business. The next issue that I ran into were my second SSD wasn't showing up in the Windows File Explorer. If this happened to you, here's the solution. Right click on the start menu, go into disk management, and initialize your drive. Boom, problem solved. If you're thinking about upgrading your laptop, I will leave some links to all the product that was featured inside this video so you can click on them and find the exact part that I have here. And if you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section right under the like button. And make sure you come back for new videos. It's your boy CH. Thanks for watching. I hope this one was helpful. I'm out. Peace.